What's good, my people? The weigh-ins just ended. I'm going to go over the weigh-in recap and also some bets for every fight. One fighter did miss weight, and we're going to go over that. But just make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe, and let's go ahead and get right into it. For the first fight, we have Shane Collins versus Arturi Tonzalovi. All week, I've been on Shane Collins, and that still remains the same. I feel like here he's the more well-rounded fighter. I've heard a lot about this guy, and I mean, he's seemed to have a very high IQ whenever it comes down to being in there. He tries all type of styles, but here I feel like he'll be able to implement his pressuring style and get it Atari against the cage and be able to defeat him that way. I do feel like, Atari is durable, so he'll be able to make it to the final bell. So give me Sean Collins by decision. All right, so here's Atari. I believe he was the last one to weigh in, but he did come in and weight. Not anything that I noticed that's off with him, so pretty good weight cut overall, and looks to be in good shape coming onto the scale. All right, and here's Shane Collins. This guy's in tremendous shape coming into this fight. He is going to be the bigger guy. This is his natural weight class, as Atari is, coming up to 145. But we'll see that on the scale whenever they do the face-offs. But overall, Shane Collins comes into this fight in very good shape. Both guys come in impressive shape, I'll say that. All right, so here's the face-off. As you can see, Atari is going to be the more smaller guy. Sean Collins does have a slight advantage when it comes down to the height. Me personally, I do think Atari would be a good guy at 135. I think that he still can definitely make waves there, and he doesn't have to do this by stepping up to 145. But most likely, he probably got to a point in his career where he's tired of cutting down in weight, which is understandable. So we'll have this fight at 145, and that'll be to the advantage of Shane Collins. So give me him to win this fight, and I like him to win by decision at plus 180. All right, next up we have Karol Rosa versus Luana Santos, and I've been on Santos all week, and that's going to remain my pick. I like her here as an underdog. Karol Rosa is a gritty veteran, but one thing I can say is if you look at her record, you can tell that she definitely struggles against grapplers and has been very successful against strikers, which of course when you train with Denise Gomes, you're going to have that type of striking ability to be a good defensive striker and understand the weaknesses of a striker. But when it comes down to the grappling, I feel like Luana Santos is very good at staying top heavy, and that's how she wins this fight. As long as she's able to get 2 takedowns, I think it's honestly her path to a decision victory. But I also wouldn't be surprised if she does sink in a sub. All right, here we have Luana Santos coming to this fight in very good shape. She comes in looking very good. Very, very good. I ain't gonna... Hey, listen. And here we have Karol Rosa with the Ellen DeGeneres haircut. One thing I could say, though, is that coming to this fight, she seems to be in very good shape, so I definitely give her credit for that. If she's able to keep it up on the feet and utilize her striking and get more output out than Santos, of course she could win that way. But overall, in the smaller Apex cage, I feel like Santos is going to close that distance, get her against the cage, get her down, and she'll be able to keep her down. Rosa does come into this fight with a slight, very slight height advantage, of course. But overall, I don't think that matters coming into this fight. I think that actually probably works into the advantage of Luana Santos. Luana Santos is still at plus money. She's only lost to Casey O'Neill and Jenna Bishop, which are 2 really good fighters, and I do consider both to be very high level. And one thing that they both have and they both pose as a threat is their grappling. I feel like Karol Rosa doesn't pose as much of a threat. So Luana Santos, money line is going to be my best bet. I do feel like she has a path to victory, whether it's by decision or by a sneaky submission. But overall, at plus money, I like Luana Santos all day as the younger girl here who has the judo experience, and she'll be able to stay top heavy on Karol Rosa. I feel like she gets it done. And this one will be quick because we have Leon Shabazian versus Levon Chicoli. All week I've been on Levon Chicoli, and here in this fight, I feel like he's going to be able to knock out Shabazian. Overall, Leon Shabazian does have tall man defense. One thing I could give him credit for 100% is that he is very dangerous on the ground. If he does get it down to the ground, that's where we'll have the advantage. But this guy, Leon, just loves to keep his chin up in the air and has very shitty striking defense as well as striking offense. He doesn't look impressive out there at all. I don't really see him to be in UFC level. But Levon, I think he will have some slight success in the UFC. But here in this fight, this is a great fight for him to get another first-round knockout. I have watched this guy since Bellator days, and I've seen him to get knocked out himself. But overall, that was against way better competition. Levon definitely wins this fight. Here's Levon on the scale doing this little triangle shit. I don't know what that's about, but hey, this guy here, he's a dangerous fighter, has some crazy knockout power, and here I feel like he gets it done. Comes into this fight in very good shape. Here's Leon. He comes into this fight in very good shape. I'll give him that 100% credit to the shape he came into this fight in. Here's the thing. At 185, he doesn't have a chin. I think here, him going down to 170 is even more of a mistake, where his chin is going to be definitely liable to get caught here. Some friendly vibes over here at the face-off. Leon has a smile on his face. Also Levon was smiling a little bit. Both guys come in very good spirit and both excited to make their UFC debut. I just think Levon's striking is too aggressive for a guy like Leon who keeps his chin up in the air, and he's definitely going to get caught here. One thing I feel like will be safe for parlays is going to be the under 1.5. I feel like there's definitely some value there because both guys can finish the fight very early. But I'm also looking for plus money, so give me Levon to get the first round knockout at plus 105. I feel like he definitely gets it done. The fight to finish in round 1 is minus 170. So here I feel like Levon's path to victory is going to be the knockout in the first round. So I do see value in a guy like Levon here to get the first round knockout, as he already has 11. And Leon only loses by knockout, and this guy has no chin. You guys will see that Saturday night. Next up is Michael Aswell versus Gaston Bolaños. In this fight all week, I've been picking Michael Aswell. I feel like he's going to definitely get it done here in this fight. He does put out way more output. Gaston is moving up a weight class to 145, where he'll be the smaller guy. And for once, Aswell will be able to be the bully and be the bigger guy. Here's Michael Aswell on the scale. Looked pretty good on the scale overall. Has some visible abs. And looks locked in and ready for this fight. Now, one thing I could say is that Gaston Bolaños is going to be, even though he's the guy coming up in weight, he's going to be the smaller guy. He does have more thicker bones and thicker muscles, and he has a pretty wide back. So here into this fight, he comes looking pretty strong. I do believe that he's a fighter that does belong at 135 though. At 145, I feel like he'll be too small for these guys, but he definitely comes into this fight more filled in. Now, here's the face-off. Like I said, Michael Aswell does have a slight advantage here whenever it comes down to the height. He does put out more output, even though he does absorb some strikes. He's fought some very aggressive guys who are very powerful, and they still weren't able to get him out of there. So I don't feel like, Gaston has any chance at all of getting a knockout. But it's also hard for me to see him win by decision because I feel like Aswell is going to be the bully here. He's going to put out more output, and he's not going to respect the things that are coming from a guy who's moving up from 135. So for this fight, my best bet is going to be Michael Aswell by decision. You can also play his KO line, but honestly, I don't really see him getting a KO. Because in this fight, like I said, Gaston Bolaños is moving up in weight. I feel like here, up in weight, he's going to be more durable. And he's not a guy who really gets knocked out too much. He's only been knocked out one time in the later rounds. But his main weakness is going to be the sub. And Michael Aswell has never got a sub. So here, I don't feel like he gets a sub. He's not really a submission guy. So give me Michael Aswell by decision at plus 115. Because, of course, at this point, there's no more value in his money line. All right, so next up, we have Mitch Raposo versus Alan Nascimento. Here in this fight, as a pick, I did initially pick Alan Nascimento. But overall, I do feel like Mitch Raposo can definitely get it done. Overall here, Alan Nascimento, he actually did make weight coming into this fight for the first time in 3 years. So I'm interested in seeing how his performance is in the later rounds. Raposo is really good at keeping fights very close. So if he keeps it up on the feet, I feel like this is going to be a very close fight. That's why I feel like there is value here on him as an underdog coming into this fight. Here's Mitch coming in, making weight. Overall, not really a guy that I usually pick. But in this fight, I do see some value in him as an underdog. But he comes into this fight looking in pretty good shape. Nascimento is finally able to make weight, and here in this fight, one thing I will give him credit for is that he does look into good shape. If the line does get too close to where a lot of people start putting money on Mitch, because I do see the line moving, because I was able to get it at a larger tag than what it is now. Maybe you can hedge with the sub, but overall, I feel like here Mitch is going to be, of course, he's smaller, but he's going to be able to use that hit to his advantage here in this fight. Here's the face-off. Of course, Nascimento is going to be the taller guy, with Mitch Raposo being the shorter guy as always. I feel like Nascimento isn't going to be able to take him down. He can definitely 100% win by a submission because he is very dangerous on the ground. But overall, I feel like a decision does favor Mitch Raposo, unless it gets grapple fucked. I was able to get Mitch at a plus 150, but his line is closing up, and he is, starting to get money on him. So action coming on Mitch Raposo, and I see why. And, if this line gets too close, I don't see any value in playing him anymore, but still at plus money, I like it. Next up is Bia Mesquita versus Melissa Mullins. All week, I've been picking Bia Mesquita, and I'm going to go ahead and stick with that pick, of course, because here in this fight, I feel like she's going to be able to completely dominate Mullins on the ground. And I feel she will get the finish. Mullins came into this fight looking in good shape and looking pretty confident. She doesn't look scared from the threats coming from Bia Mesquita. Here's Bia Mesquita looking in good shape, and I think those are fake. But overall, whether they're fake or not, I like her in this fight. She'll have the strength on the ground. She'll be able to take advantage there. Here's the face-off between the two. Bia Mesquita, of course, is going to be a slightly shorter. Melissa Mullins definitely has the bigger head. I don't think Melissa Mullins is the girl to take away the undefeated record of Bia Mesquita. Give me Bia Mesquita by sub. You know, recently Melissa Mullins did compete in a bout in grappling, and she did get subbed in the first round there. I don't see why that doesn't happen here in this fight. But I like the sub overall. Give me her by sub. I think she does it again and cashes this ticket. Now for the next fight up, we have Andre Lima versus Kevin Borjas. All week I have been picking Andre Lima, and I'm sticking to that pick. Even though Kevin Borjas is dangerous and is a finisher, I feel like in this fight he isn't going to be able to finish Andre Lima. And Andre Lima is just a better all-around fighter who has more skills on the feet and on the ground. Now this guy, Kevin Borjas, did come in overweight. He did come in at 129. Either way, he is going to get cut from the UFC because he missed weight. And also, he's on a fight losing streak, only winning 1 out of his last 5 fights. Here's Borjas on the scale. I would say that on the scales, he looked like complete shit. He looked completely drained. Of course, you can tell in his face that he struggled to make the weight limit of 125 or even 126 because he came in at 129. Lima was able to make weight here at 126. At 126, his ass looks pretty drained too, but he was able to make the weight here. And he had like 20 Brazilians in there rooting for him in the crowd. And, I mean, these people were so excited that he made the weight. So, definitely, we're with him through the struggle, but I'm glad he went through it. That just shows overall that he has more determination than Kevin Borjas to the fight game. Now, see, this is why I didn't know if Kevin Borjas was faking it on the scale or not, because whenever he was in the face-off, he did look pretty rejuvenated. And I'm not accusing him of purposely missing weight, but maybe it is to his advantage. Overall, I do favor Andre Lima to win by a decision. Kevin Borjas did miss weight, so I feel like here he's going to use that to his advantage. He's going to be a little bit more durable than usual and at least make it to a decision. Here we have Vinicius Oliveira versus Andre Fili. In this fight all week, I've been picking Andre Fili, and that's going to be my pick. I like him here as the underdog. Andre Fili has never lost 2 in a row. Is coming off of a very close split decision to a dangerous 145er in Jose Delgado. Here against Oliveira, I feel like Oliveira won't be able to knock him out, and I feel like Andre Fili can definitely get it done by a decision. He'll be able to use his grappling here in this fight and take advantage using his wrestling and even piece up or even stun Oliveira on the feet. I see that definitely happening here in this fight, and this is Oliveira's first fight at 145. Andre Fili is filling in for Giga Chikadze, but still in this fight, he comes into this fight pretty confident and looking in good shape. Vinicius here, always cocky as always, and he's very confident coming into this fight, and I just don't see the value in the minus 300 here on his line. The most intense face-off of the morning was between these two as they got in each other's face and were pushing each other. This is going to be a very good fight. Give me Andre Fili as the bet here in this fight, and I love him here at plus 230. Next up, we have Bagdasarian versus Magomedov, and in this fight, I've been picking Magomedov. I feel like here he does have the finishing upside, and overall, he's a pretty well-rounded fighter. Bagdasarian does come into this fight in good shape as always, but overall, if you really look at it, he only has 1 more pro fight than Magomedov. Magomedov has 5 knockouts and 5 submissions, and here I feel like he has multiple ways to get it done. Here's Magomedov on the scale, looking in good shape and looking pretty confident and ready to go. Overall, I'm excited for him to be in the UFC and excited to see what's to come. One thing I could say is that Bagdasarian does come into this fight in very, very good shape. Overall, he does have some confidence. I could feel it in the weigh-ins. Maybe he is able to pull off the upset, but I highly doubt it. I feel like Magomedov is a very good prospect who is a highly talented finisher. Here you can see that Magomedov does have the height and the reach advantage. So, of course, he will be able to pick up part Bagdasarian from the outside. Overall, I do feel like even if it gets down to the ground somehow, he'll be able to lock in his submission. But overall, give me him by finish. And at plus 100, it's one of my favorite plays on this card. Next up, we have C-Rod versus Haider Amil. Overall, I really like the style of Haider Amil because this guy definitely brings the fight. But I am going to side with the side of C-Rod. I feel like he's the more technical striker. And here, he'll be able to stifle the pressure of Haider Amil. He has faced guys that bring early pressure, like Austin Bashi as well as Isaac Dilgarian. And in those fights, he was able to pull it off. And also, looking into C-Rod's career, as I mentioned a little earlier this week, if you do have less than 15 pro fights, majority of the time, or almost all the time, he's able to beat those guys. So here, Haider Amil only has 13 pro fights. He's 36 years old, So as a prospect and still being older, C-Rod has the advantage. And he's more technical, and I feel like Hyder Mill is more offense than defense. Here's C-Rod on the scale. I was worried about how he looked coming into this fight because he did recently lose his coach. So I was wondering where his mind's at, but he does look to be in pretty good shape coming into this fight. As always, Hyder Mill comes into this fight very confident and very, believing in his power. He believes in himself. So here, I mean, if he doesn't get caught and he doesn't get technically outstroked, he can definitely win this fight. Honestly, I do feel like this fight goes to decision, and there is value on his plus money, 400, for Hyder to win by a decision. But overall, I do think that C-Rod does get it done by decision here at plus 150. I feel like he's the more technical striker, and of course, he always shuts down the prospects. So give me C-Rod at plus 150 to win by decision. Here's the co-main event of the evening. We have Ion Cutelaba versus Navajo Sterling. And in this fight, I have been picking Navajo Sterling, and I'm going to stay with that pick here. Navajo Sterling is going to be the more technical striker here. I feel like he'll be able to use that here to his advantage against a guy like Cutelaba. Cutelaba, of course, is going to come out hot in the first round, and that's where he's most dangerous. But after that round, I feel like Navajo Sterling is definitely going to pick up in the fight, and eventually, he'll be able to land a KO shot. I do feel like Navajo's starting to build more confidence when it comes down to being in the cage. So give me Navajo. Here's Navajo Sterling on the scale at 205. He looks to be in very incredible shape. So he seems to be able to take his career very serious. Overall, he's the technical striker. I don't think that Navajo Sterling is a fraud. But Cutelaba is also in tremendous shape. Here he is the veteran and has the veteran experience. So overall, if there is an upset, I wouldn't be too surprised. But I do feel like Navajo Sterling is a good all-around fighter, and he'll be able to pick apart Ion Cutelaba and get away from the danger in the first round. For these face-offs, of course, Navajo Sterling is going to have the advantages when it comes down to the height and the reach. Overall, though, he has the striking advantage, and Cutelaba does have the grappling advantage. So I'm excited to see who's able to take advantage of their game plan here. Overall, I do think it's Navajo, though. Next up is the main event. Thank you guys for following through with the video with me, and make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. We have Kape versus Horiguchi. Now, here in this fight, I've been picking Horiguchi all week, and I'm going to go ahead and stick with this pick. I feel like there's definitely value in him here as the underdog. In the UFC right now, he is currently only has one loss, and that's to Demetrius Johnson, and he has about 9 wins in the UFC. So overall, very good UFC career, and I feel like here he'll be able to continue that streak. Now, Kape is a very dangerous striker, and definitely he could land that shot and get Horiguchi out of here. But overall, I don't think that happens. I feel like Horiguchi is very smart coming in and out of range, and also he'll be able to utilize some grappling threats here and kind of get Kape guessing and get him to kind of be hesitant on throwing his hands. He does also have the submission threat, and that's exactly how he was able to get it done the last time. Not saying that he gets it done the same way, but I do see value in him as the underdog. Horiguchi on the scale, in good spirits and also in good weight and in great shape as always. He is 35 years old, but he looks very young for his age. And he also moves very quick and is kind of like a spider monkey in there. But great shape coming into this fight. Then we have Kape on the scale as well. Looks pretty jacked on the scale. He does have one titty lower than the other, so I'm wondering what's going on there. But overall, as always, ready to go and making weight. And this main event is official, and I'm excited to see what happens this time, as this is a rematch between two elite fighters who are now meeting again in the UFC. Last time they were in the ring, I'm excited to see what happens in the octagon. A very calm face-off between the two guys. I mean, when have you ever seen Kape be this calm whenever it comes down to a face-off? He knows what's in front of him, and I feel like he's taking this fight very serious. But overall, I feel like just Horiguchi has exactly what it takes to beat a guy like Kape. So give me Horiguchi. I do like Horiguchi as plus money in this fight. I feel like whoever has plus money next to their name in this fight does have value. Kape has definitely made some improvements, but so has Horiguchi. This isn't an octagon, in the smaller octagon, so I'm excited to see who that favors. But I like that Horiguchi does have 15 unanimous wins, so overall, whenever he does win by decision, it's pretty clear to the judges. And he also here does have the grappling advantage. So overall, I feel like Manel Kape does have to win by a knockout, be able to stun Horiguchi, or I mean, possibly maybe win by decision. But I feel like that's the less outcome, like because overall, Manel Kape is not really good at winning decisions. So give me Horiguchi here in this fight at plus 135. I definitely see value in him as the underdog for sure because I feel like overall he is the more well-rounded fighter. But Manel Kape can definitely catch him. But I do like Horiguchi a lot in this fight in the main event. I like the plus money next to his name, and overall, I feel like he's the more well-rounded fighter. He is 35 coming to this fight, being the older fighter, but he looks to be in his prime at this age. So give me Horiguchi. I like him a lot in the main event spot, and I'm picking him as the underdog. Man, thank y'all so much for going through the video with me. I appreciate y'all so much for clicking on my video, and make sure you guys leave a like and a comment for me. Overall, I'm very excited for this card. Even though last card, we definitely cannot top that one. But hey, you know, we do have a pretty decent card here and also an amazing main event. So make sure to leave a thumbs up, leave a comment, and also subscribe to the channel. And also, I'll catch back with you guys whenever the fights are done, and we'll go over the post reactions to all these fights. Thank y'all very much, and peace out.